When couples fight about money, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably that there just isn't enough of it, right? A smaller paycheck, the crazy cost of groceries, all the stress of just making ends meet. It feels like the most obvious reason. We tell ourselves if we just had a little more, these arguments would just disappear. But here's the thing. That's not the whole story. Not even close. In fact, some of the most intense relationship-breaking fights about money happen in homes with really high incomes. We're talking about couples earning well into six figures who are locked in the exact same bitter fights as those living paycheck to paycheck. So if it's not about the number in the bank account, what is really going on here? Well, best-selling author and finance expert Ramit Sethi just gets right to the heart of it with this insight. He says that the fights we have over a credit card bill or a big purchase, they're almost never about the math. Those are just the symptoms. Really, they're surface-level battles about our core values, our deepest fears, and the unspoken power dynamics playing out in our relationship. Welcome to Ditta Finance, the channel where we talk about money, relationships, and real-life financial wisdom. We believe that getting a handle on the psychology behind your financial decisions is really the key to building a stronger future together. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on those real, hidden reasons behind our money fights. And more importantly, we'll walk through a powerful, practical framework that can help you and your partner stop these arguments and actually turn them into productive conversations. Our guide for all of this is the book Money for Couples by Ramit Sethi. Through his work with countless real couples, he uncovered this fundamental truth. It doesn't matter if you earn a little or a lot, the patterns behind our money fights are almost always the same. We'll kick things off with the money fight myth. Then we'll look at your unseen money story, dig into the classic saver versus spender trap, and talk about the hidden role of power. Then we'll see the high cost of silence before diving into the solution, your rich life conversation. So let's start with this crucial point. The whole idea that more income will magically solve your money arguments, it's a myth. The real root of the problem isn't in your wallet, it's buried way deeper, in your mind and in your past. What's so fascinating is that our relationship with money, our financial identity, was basically formed long before we even met our partners. We each carry around this invisible script that quietly directs how we act with money. Let's call it your money story. So what is a money story? Well, think of it as the collection of beliefs and habits you soaked up about money when you were a kid. It's built from watching how your family handled their finances, the things you overheard about debt or wealth, and the unspoken feelings that were tied to every dollar that came in or out of your home. Take a second to think about your own story. Was money always tight? Did your parents fight about bills at the kitchen table? Or maybe spending was a source of joy, a way to celebrate and show love. Or maybe it was seen as irresponsible. These early experiences create our financial blueprint. Now imagine one partner whose blueprint says money is for creating amazing memories, and another whose blueprint says money is for creating a safety net for disaster. When they try to plan a vacation, they aren't just discussing plane tickets. They're navigating two completely different worldviews. And when those blueprints collide without being understood, you're going to see some cracks appear. And this brings us to one of the most common conflicts that pops up from these different money stories, the classic saver versus spender trap. It's a dynamic that plays out in so many relationships, and it often becomes a defining feature of a couple's financial life. The saver, they operate from a place of wanting security. Their internal monologue is basically, we need to protect the future. And they feel genuine anxiety when they see money spent on things they think are unnecessary. To them, saving is an act of love. The spender, on the other hand, operates from a place of wanting to experience life. Their mindset is, we need to enjoy life now, and they often feel controlled or judged by the saver's caution. To them, spending is about living fully. Both of them believe they're being responsible. They just have a very different definition of what that means. And as Ramit Sethi points out, neither one is wrong. Both of these perspectives are totally valid and actually bring value to a partnership. A healthy financial life needs both future planning and present enjoyment. The real conflict comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of each other's motivations. And when that's not talked about, the saver just sees the spender as reckless, and the spender sees the saver as stingy and controlling. And the tension just builds. But it goes even deeper than that. You see, money fights are rarely just about the dollars and cents on a spreadsheet. Money is a symbol, and it often represents much bigger emotional concepts in a relationship, especially power. Yeah, money stands in for so many other things. For some of us, it represents control over our own life. For others, it's a huge symbol of independence, the ability to stand on our own 2 feet. For many, it's the bedrock of security, just feeling like you can handle anything life throws at you. And for pretty much everyone, it represents freedom. The freedom to choose your work, to travel, to leave a bad situation. And this is where a subtle power imbalance can sneak in, especially if one partner earns a lot more or is the one who manages all the money. As Ramit explains, the person who controls the money often controls the decisions. Now, this doesn't have to be malicious, but if it isn't talked about openly, it can lead to some really deep resentment. One partner might feel like they have to ask for permission to spend money, while the other feels the burden of making all the choices. When that happens, trust gets damaged and every money talk becomes emotionally charged. So, given how emotional and complicated all this is, it's no surprise that a lot of couples just choose to avoid it altogether. They decide that not talking about money is easier than fighting about it. But financial avoidance? That's a strategy that is absolutely guaranteed to backfire. We've all used this excuse, right? We'll talk about it later. But later is this mythical time that never seems to arrive. Procrastinating doesn't solve anything. It just lets small anxieties grow into major problems down the road. Here's another common one. Money talk just causes arguments. Couples who think this way see the conversation itself as the problem, not the underlying issues. They fear the short-term discomfort way more than the long-term damage of not talking, so they choose this fragile peace over true alignment. And finally, there's the really dangerous mindset of, as long as the bills are paid, we're fine. This approach focuses only on getting by. It completely ignores long-term goals, shared dreams, and the financial teamwork you need to build a life you actually want. This all leads to a crucial warning from Ramit. Avoidance is the most expensive money habit couples have. And it's expensive because unspoken expectations and silent resentments don't just disappear. They build up, kind of like compound interest, and eventually lead to a crisis far bigger than the one you were trying to avoid. So let's just put this all together. The myth is that we fight about external things, low income, high prices, inflation. But the reality is, we fight because of internal things. Our values are unclear, our expectations are unspoken, and our emotions are being ignored. Money is just the trigger. Okay, so what's the way out of this painful cycle? How do we move forward? Well, Ramit Sethi offers a really powerful practical solution. And it's not a restrictive budget or some complicated spreadsheet. It's a conversation. A very specific kind of conversation. He calls it defining your rich life together. This conversation isn't about cutting back. It's about consciously designing a life you both genuinely love. It starts with a simple question. What does a good life actually look like for us? Then you get specific. What to us is truly worth spending lavishly on? Is it travel? A beautiful home? Giving to causes we care about? And just as important, what do we want to stop worrying about? Is it getting out of debt, saving for retirement, knowing we can handle a medical emergency? And this one conversation is transformative. Because as Ramit says, when couples align on their rich life, money stops being a source of conflict and becomes a tool. It's no longer a weapon you use against each other. It becomes a shared resource to build the specific life you've both agreed you want. This reframes everything. Saving for a down payment is no longer about restriction. It's about building your future home. Spending on a vacation is no longer frivolous. It's an investment in shared memories. You don't need more income, you need more clarity. So if you find yourself stuck in those same old fights, just pause. Stop asking, how can we earn more? And start asking better questions. Ask each other, what did we actually learn about money growing up? What are our biggest financial fears? And most importantly, what does our rich life look like together? This approach of turning conflict into collaboration is a core insight from Ramit Sethi's work. If you found this helpful and you want more content where money and relationships meet clarity, we invite you to subscribe to Ditta Finance. At the end of the day, just remember, money isn't the real problem. Silence is. The conversation is where the solution begins.